I dreamed that my domineering CEO brother would go bankrupt for the green tea female lead, so I knocked on the villain's door with my little pillow in hand. When he was about to send me back, he noticed the scars on my wrist. Kevin actually abused you. I nodded sleepily while yawning. When my brother got dumped by the female lead again, he finally remembered there was still a little princess at home. By then, the villain had already started attending parent-teacher meetings for me. My brother was devastated. I was only away on a business trip for half a month, not vanished. How could you just replace me? The villain coaxed me with chocolate. Bella, how about changing to a new brother? At the age of 5, I had a terrifying dream. I dreamed that my brother Kevin would become the cash cow for a green tea female protagonist. He would abandon his principles and dignity for Susan, obsessed with her, infatuated by her, smashing headfirst into walls for her. Finally, he willingly offered all his family's wealth as Susan's dowry, and he took me with him, moving into a shabby old apartment, listening to the drunken sobs of the neighbor every night. To change this tragic ending, with my limited 5-year-old intelligence, I tried every possible effort, including but not limited to, deliberately feigning a fever to keep him by my side when Susan called him late at night saying she was scared, pretending to have a stomachache when Susan wanted midnight snacks. So he would take me to the doctor, learning to sing, "Only My Brother Is the Best in the World," to move him when Susan invited him to the movies. But I forgot one thing, I have a nanny to take care of me at home. But Susan is an orphan. My brother left me with the nanny, his eyes only on that woman who could cry and act spoiled. Seeing his foolishness getting worse, I solemnly decided to get myself a new brother. So I set my sights on a big brother in the upscale apartment next door. He's the villain, my brother's arch nemesis, always causing trouble for Susan's admirers, cunning and scheming, just like a beast tamer, and he really did have a Samoyed. Once, my brother bought coffee for Susan and forgot about me at the cafe. He happened to be there too, so I climbed down from the chair and handed a small cookie to his Samoyed. In return, he had the dog take me back home. I want him to teach my brother a lesson. Yesterday was my 5th birthday, and the nanny specially dressed me in a little suit to wait for my brother to come home, but he went to watch a play with Susan instead. The nanny comforted me by saying that once Miss Susan becomes my sister-in-law, there will be 2 people to dote on me, but I knew she wouldn't become my sister-in-law. Susan is destined to marry the male lead, Jack, so I decided to run away from home, to teach my love-struck brother a lesson. At 10 o'clock at night, I successfully avoided the nanny scrolling through her phone in the living room and slipped out through the pet passage on the balcony, holding my little pillow. I walked barefoot toward the neighboring luxury apartment. 20 minutes later, I stood at Simon's doorstep. This apartment was even more luxurious than mine, but its dark windows looked cold and unwelcoming. I took a deep breath, spread the small pillow in front of the door, and curled up to lie down. Just as I was about to fall asleep, I suddenly heard barking and footsteps from inside the door. The door opened, and a slipper nearly stepped on my little face. "What is this?" Simon's voice abruptly stopped. I rubbed my eyes and sat up, meeting a pair of startled eyes. Under the moonlight, his tall figure loomed over me, clad in a black night robe with a slightly open collar that revealed the delicate lines of his collarbone. "What are you doing here?" Simon asked with a frown. Before I could answer, a ball of white fluff dashed out from beside his legs and enthusiastically pounced toward me. Snowball's wet nose sniffed around my face, wagging its tail like a little motor. "Snowball," Simon scolded, "this isn't a stray cat. You can't adopt it." Snowball whimpered pitifully but stubbornly wrapped its front paws around me and started licking my face. Giggling, I seized the moment to roll up and directly hugged Simon's long legs. "Brother, carry me." He was completely stiff, as if under a paralysis spell. Seizing the opportunity, Snowball grabbed the back collar of my clothes and started dragging me into the house. "Hey, stupid dog, let go." Simon tried to stop it, but Snowball had already successfully dragged me into the entryway. Taking advantage of the moment, I released my collar and scrambled up onto Simon's body using both hands and feet. "Get down," he said coldly. I shook my head and buried my face in the crook of his neck. "Bella's cold." Simon's body stiffened even more, but he didn't forcibly pull me away. Snowball circled excitedly nearby, occasionally nuzzling my calf with his head as if saying, look at me, does Kevin know you're here?" he asked. I pouted, tears falling instantly. "Big brother doesn't want Bella anymore." My sleeve slipped, unintentionally revealing the blue-purple bruises on my wrist. Simon's expression changed immediately as he grabbed my wrist. "What happened here?" I timidly shrank my neck. Bella hurts, brother is angry. Actually, I got that bump when I crawled under the table to pick up a toy. When my brother came back, he did get angry and blamed the nanny for not watching me properly. The nanny was indeed negligent. She was busy watching a Korean drama. Simon's face was terrifyingly dark. Did Kevin do this? I didn't answer, just lowered my head, playing the victim role to perfection. Simon took a deep breath, seemingly suppressing his anger at this moment. Snowball came running over with his food bowl in his mouth, placed it in front of me, and then looked at Simon with expectant eyes. Simon looked at his dog speechlessly. It's 3 a.m. Snowball stubbornly stood his ground. I patted my stomach. Bella is hungry. Snowball immediately picked up a piece of dog food and spat it at our feet, wagging its tail even more excitedly. Simon rubbed his temples. I'll go heat up some milk for you. He pointed warningly at Snowball. Don't you dare hide him in your doghouse. Snowball tilted its head, putting on an innocent expression that said, I don't understand. 10 minutes later, Simon returned to the living room with 2 glasses of milk. Snowball immediately pricked up its ears, its tail tapping out a cheerful rhythm on the floor. Sit, he commanded. Snowball immediately sat up straight, front paws together, like an obedient little soldier. I blinked my eyes and, following the example, let out a woof while straightening my little body. Simon's hand froze mid-air, nearly spilling the milk. What are you doing? Table manners. I tilted my head, imitating Snowball's expectant expression. At home, Aunt Judy always taught me this way. Simon's brows furrowed into a knot. She made you bark like a dog. I nodded, recalling, she said this was advanced etiquette. Once when I didn't call, she told my brother, saying I wasn't being obedient. At this point, I suddenly felt sad. That day, my brother was particularly angry. During dinner, he deliberately imitated my call and then gave me a big chicken drumstick. He pinched my little face with his greasy hand. My Bella can eat however she wants. My brother is good to me, but he doesn't have time to change my nanny for me. Just because Susan said I've grown attached to this nanny, and if we get a new one, I definitely won't adjust well. And later, he became busier and busier, never eating with me again. Simon placed the milk in front of me and Snowball, his face frighteningly dark. Is that nanny still at your house? I took small sips of milk. Aunt Judy also taught me how puppies drink water. Do you want to see, big brother? His thumb gently brushed over the bruise on my wrist. His voice so soft it was almost inaudible. That bastard Kevin. After finishing the milk, I hesitantly raised my face. Big brother, my own brother doesn't want me anymore. Can you take me in? I eat very little. In my dream, Simon also had a younger sister, but she was born with a congenital disease and later passed away too soon due to a medical accident. He didn't even have time to properly cherish him. After this incident, his parents also separated. Coincidentally, my parents separated too. Theirs was a marriage of convenience, and after the split, neither wanted custody, each pursuing their own true love instead. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been dumped on my brother. Simon's brows knitted into a tight knot as he looked down at me clinging stubbornly to his leg, then at Snowball circling excitedly around us, the vein at his temple faintly throbbing. I'm usually very busy, he said, rubbing his temples. I don't have time to take care of a child. I immediately held up 5 tiny fingers. Bella will be super good. I can eat by myself, sleep by myself, and play games by myself. Snowball seemed to understand our conversation. Suddenly charging into the living room, he dragged his enormous dog bed with great effort right next to my feet, then barked proudly, his tail wagging like a propeller. Simon looked at it expressionlessly. He's not a puppy, you can't sleep with him, you'd crush him to death. Snowball let out a dissatisfied whimper and nudged my hand with its wet nose, as if saying, I wouldn't. Finally, he let out a long sigh. If you don't cause trouble, I can reluctantly let you stay for a few days. Thank you, big brother. Thank you, Snowball. I gave Snowball a big smooch while hugging it. Snowball was even more excited than me, running around the house with my small pillow in its mouth, only to freeze in place under Simon's glare. Time to sleep, Simon said. Grabbing the back of my collar and lifting me into the guest room like a kitten, I obediently crawled under the covers and watched as he turned off the light and left. The moment the door closed, the entire room plunged into darkness. The wall clock ticked steadily, while the swaying tree shadows outside cast eerie shapes on the walls. Clutching the blanket tightly, I finally couldn't resist climbing out of bed. At the end of the hallway, a sliver of light seeped out from beneath Simon's door. I gently pushed the door open and saw Simon leaning against the headboard reviewing documents, the bedside lamp casting a warm glow on his sharply defined profile. Snowball immediately noticed me and came wagging its tail happily. "What's wrong now?" he asked without looking up. I twisted the corner of the blanket and whispered, "Bella is afraid of the dark." Only then did Simon look up and see me standing trembling at the doorway. His expression softened slightly under the light, but his tone remained stiff. "Still afraid of the dark at 5 years old? Aunt Judy said if I don't sleep, a monster will come and take me away at night," I exclaimed in terror. Simon stared at me for a full 10 seconds before finally closing the file in defeat. "Come here." My eyes lit up as I hugged my blanket and trotted over. Snowball was faster than me and had already jumped onto the bed, claiming the best spot. "Not here." Simon pointed to the small sofa in the corner. "You sleep over there." I obediently crawled onto the sofa, wrapping myself up in the blanket like a little dumpling. Snowball let out a dissatisfied whimper but still jumped off the bed and lay down on the carpet beside me to keep watch. Simon turned off the main light, leaving only a small night light, although I wanted to put some pressure on my brother to make him care about me again. But I never expected that after being away from home all night, he still hasn't noticed I'm missing. He went on a business trip with Susan. Simon sent someone to check, and when Aunt Judy noticed I was missing, her first reaction wasn't to inform my brother. Instead, she was afraid of taking responsibility and simply ran away. "Excellent." His cold smile eerily resembled a cartoon villain. "Isn't the Lincoln family currently negotiating the commercial project in the Southern District?" Assistant Chan adjusted his glasses. "The signing is scheduled for tomorrow, before midnight tonight." "I want that project to bear the G surname." Simon tossed the broken pen into the trash bin. "I'll pay triple the penalty fee." I was counting on my fingers to figure out what 3 times the amount was when he suddenly lifted me up and placed me on the desk. He braced his hands on either side of me, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "Kid, does your brother usually treat you like this?" Snowball anxiously pawed at the edge of the desk, barking frantically. I took the chance to use its paw as a handrail. "Big brother is just really busy." Actually, before he met Susan, he would still take me to the aquarium and watch dolphin shows with me. On my 4th birthday, he even dressed up as Superman to celebrate with me. Simon's expression grew even more terrifying. 3 days later, a bank card suddenly appeared in my little backpack. Simon was combing my hair, though not very skillfully, and casually remarked, "The profits from Kevin's second lost project are in there." "Wow." I held up the shiny bank card. "How much chocolate can this buy?" His hand paused. "That's your main concern, of course." I tilted my head to look at him. "Then, can it afford a Transformers toy?" Simon choked. "At market price, you could outright buy a chocolate factory and eat for a lifetime." My mouth formed an "oh" shape. This is like a dream come true. Simon is no villain. He's Santa Claus. Hide it well. Simon tucked the card back into my dinosaur-printed backpack. "This is your New Year's money," I blurted out, having just learned the term from TV. "Can I buy toys for Snowball with it?" Simon's mouth twitched. "Do as you please." I suddenly lunged forward and planted a kiss on his cheek. Simon froze instantly, not even reacting when I tugged his 5-figure tie askew. "Brother Simon is the best." I dangled from his neck, swaying, "even better than my real brother." The tips of his ears turned visibly red as he stiffly peeled me off, yet reached out to ruffle my hair. I went wild playing with Snowball at home for 3 days, nearly forgetting about school entirely. It wasn't until Simon came home from work and saw the neighbor next door bringing his daughter back that he realized I had been skipping school for several days. He planned to send me to school, but I didn't want to go. Early in the morning, Simon's voice came from outside the bed. "Bella, come out." I shrank further under the bed. From this angle, I could see his polished leather shoes pacing impatiently by the bedside. "Already 18 rounds. If you don't come out in 3 minutes, no chocolate today." I covered my mouth. Despicable. How dare they threaten a 5-year-old child with snacks? Snowball's tail brushed past my face as it tilted its head to look at me. Its black pearl-like eyes filled with, "I told you hiding here wouldn't work." 5, 4, 3. As I scrambled out on all fours, I suddenly met Simon's gaze as he crouched down. Today he was wearing a dark blue shirt with the collar slightly open, looking exactly like those suspicious uncles from cartoons who kidnap children. Reason: he grabbed the back collar of my pajamas and lifted me up. "Why aren't you going to school?" I dangled in midair, kicking my legs. "My stomach hurts." "Liar." Simon narrowed his eyes. "Just yesterday you said the school slide was your favorite." I pouted, suddenly feeling my nose sting with tears. That colorful slide had long been forbidden to me by Teacher Wendy, all because I said it was my best friend. Simon's expression suddenly changed. He placed me on the bed, kneeling on one knee to meet my eye level. Did someone bully you? Snowball took the opportunity to crawl out, its wet nose nuzzling my palm. I lowered my head to play with its ears. My voice quieter than a mosquito's. Teacher Wendy doesn't like me. Why not? She said I was disobedient. My fingers unconsciously traced circles on Snowball's back. She wouldn't let my brother go to accompany Aunt Susan. Simon's pupils constricted sharply. He reached out to lift my chin, and only then did I realize my tears had already fallen onto Snowball's head. Explain clearly. His voice suddenly became very soft, but each word seemed coated in ice shards. What did she do to you? I clutched the little bear pattern on my pajamas and haltingly recounted those incidents. During nap time, Teacher Wendy pinched the inside of my arm, and in craft class, she deliberately used scissors to cut my fingers. But the scariest thing was, she put bugs in my backpack. I shuddered. She said that way I'd crawl like a bug to find my brother. Asterisk crack. Asterisk a fissure split across the screen of Simon's phone. He called Assistant Chan to investigate. Half an hour later, Assistant Chan rushed into the study with a grim expression. We found out Wendy was Susan's college roommate, but he glanced at me feeding snacks to Snowball. We don't know why she's targeting Miss Lincoln. Simon's fingers tapped a dangerous rhythm on the desk. Evidence. Assistant Chan handed over a USB drive. Surveillance shows she locked little Miss Lincoln alone in the storage room at least 4 times, the longest stretch being 3 hours. There are also chat records from the parents' group. She spread rumors that little Miss Lincoln was a burden to the Lincoln family. That's why the children in the class ostracized her. Suddenly, Simon picked me up and placed me outside the door, with Snowball swiftly slipping out to keep me company. Before the door closed, I heard his icy voice. Acquire that school. By the end of today, what about Wendy? Make her disappear from the education world forever. The door opened. Simon crouched down, the lingering aura of violence still clinging to him, yet his hand stroking my hair was as gentle as if handling something fragile. You won't be going to that school anymore. I threw myself into his arms, breathing in the faint scent of his cologne. Is this really the ruthless villain from my dreams? No, he's a guardian angel. Want to see Snowball perform math? He suddenly asked. I blinked away tears and nodded vigorously. That morning, a bizarre scene unfolded in the office of the Johnson family group's CEO. Simon, the feared tycoon known as the King of Hell in business circles, knelt on the floor teaching arithmetic to a Samoyed using chocolates. Meanwhile, I sat eating pudding while playing with Snowball. In the afternoon, Simon took me to see a psychologist. The doctor smiled at him. This child's psychological resilience is better than expected, but, after all, he's Kevin's younger brother. Are you sure you want to raise him? Simon's shoulders relaxed almost imperceptibly as he walked over and lifted me off the examination table. I seized the chance to slip my icy little hands into his shirt collar for warmth, and surprisingly, he didn't pull me away like he usually would. He doesn't want it, so I'm not allowed to pick it up. Simon sneered. The doctor sighed helplessly. Have you asked if the child is willing? He's more than willing. Simon lifted his head proudly. The doctor. Simon found me a new school, an elite institution invested in by the Johnson family conglomerate. On my first day, dressed in the little suit Simon personally picked out, I stood at the classroom door, because he said it would be easier to lift me up this way. Is that your dad? A little girl with twin ponytails asked, pointing out the window. Outside the window, Simon was talking to the principal with a cold expression, while several teachers stole glances at him but didn't dare approach. That's my brother. I puffed out my chest, my voice loud enough for the whole class to hear. The most amazing brother in the world. The kids crowded around in excitement, chattering all at once. Can he fly a plane? Does he have a robot? Can he fight monsters? I was struggling to come up with an answer when the classroom door suddenly opened. Simon walked in followed by 5 assistants pushing carts, each loaded with transformers taller than me. One for each, he said succinctly. The following scene was comparable to a carnival. Over 20 children screamed and rushed toward the pile of transformers. Standing at the center of the storm, I was suddenly lifted high. Simon hoisted me onto his shoulder with one arm. There's also a robot performance, he whispered in my ear before raising his voice. Demonstration on the playground at 3 p.m. At that moment, I saw unmistakable envy in the eyes of every child. Bob was so excited that he even fell flat on his butt. sending his transformer flying out of his hand. During nap time, my little bed was surrounded by eager new friends trying to win my favor. In art class, my desk mate helped me straighten out a crooked paper flower without being asked. Even when going to the bathroom, someone would rush to help me press the hand soap. This is what having friends feels like. It's like carrying a warm heating pad in your arms, keeping you cozy wherever you go. When school ended, I practically flew into Simon's arms. Brother, Mia gave me stickers. Bob let me play with his Ultraman, and the teacher said my drawing was really good. He caught me with one hand while taking my little backpack from the teacher with the other. His eyes slightly curved. Do you like your new teacher? Super like. I turned around to show him the small sticker on my backpack, which read, Bella is awesome, isn't it pretty? Simon's fingers lightly touched the sticker, then suddenly pulled something out of his pocket. It was a small Iron Man badge, the metal glinting in the sunset. Wow, I was about to reach for it when I suddenly remembered something. But, Teacher Wendy once said that kids who show off will turn bad. She would confiscate any decorations I wore, saying I shouldn't flaunt my brother's money. Simon's hand froze. The next second, he pulled me into his arms and said, listen, even if you wear a rainbow, you're still the most amazing kid. Those words were like a key, clicking open a little locked box in my heart. I suddenly wrapped my arms around his neck and buried my face in his shoulder. That way he wouldn't notice I was crying. When my brother lost his 5th project, he finally ended his business trip and came back. By that time, I had already become the top boss at Starlight Noble School. All the kids called me Sister Bella. Chan's assistant asked Simon if he should give my address to Kevin. He snorted indifferently. If he's sincere, he'll find me on his own. My brother seemed genuinely panicked. He found me within a day. The school gate was in complete chaos. Sir, please step back. Teacher Lee spread her arms like a protective mother hen, shielding me behind her while already dialing security on her phone. Security will be here any moment. My brother's suit was crumpled, with dark circles under his eyes, looking like a panda that had been struck by lightning. He pointed at his own nose in disbelief. I'm his real brother, Kevin Lincoln. We're both Lincolns. You're not listed as Bella's guardian on the registration form. Teacher Lee stood her ground. If you don't leave now, I'm really calling the police. I peeked from behind the teacher, my brother's expression looking like he'd swallowed a hedgehog whole. After half a month apart, he seemed thinner, with unshaven stubble on his chin. Bella, he raised his voice, I was just away on a business trip, not vanished. How could you just abandon me? You've really outdone yourself. Not only did you fire the nanny, but you also learned to run away from home. You're scaring the child. Teacher Lee interrupted sharply. I obediently shrunk my neck, though inwardly I felt nothing compared to Teacher Wendy's bugs. What's a little volume from my brother? Don't be afraid, Sister Bella. Bob suddenly rushed over with his glowing sword, jabbing it hard into my brother's butt. Take this, power of light. Ouch. My brother jumped up, clutching his butt. Whose brat is this? Mia seized the chance to run out. Hold on, Bella. I'll go get my big brother. 3 minutes later, a 1.9-meter tall Hulk whose muscles were nearly bursting through his t-shirt was dragged over by Mia. The Hulk was still holding a half-finished bottle of cola. Little sis, who's bullying your friend? My brother looked at the human tank before him, his Adam's apple bobbing. Wait, this is a misunderstanding. It's him. Mia pointed with righteous indignation. This bad guy was trying to take Bella away. Big brother, beat him to death. The muscular man cracked his knuckles, producing terrifying pops. My brother instinctively took 2 steps back, bumping into Susan who had just emerged from the car. Brother Kevin, what's wrong? Susan was wearing a pink dress today, her long hair flowing, looking like a pure little white flower. She covered her mouth in shock at the chaotic scene before her. Oh my, how did Bella become the boss at school? I pouted. With her here, my brother definitely won't believe me. Sister Bella. Only then did my brother notice how the kids were addressing me, and his anger flared up instantly. Bella, which troublemaker taught you all this nonsense? Susan added fuel to the fire in a soft, weak voice. Children are so easily influenced by bad company. Bella must have been led astray by some bad friends. It was me. A deep voice came from behind the crowd. Everyone turned their heads in unison. Simon stood there with one hand in his pocket, as if he had been there for a while. Snowball sat majestically by his side, still wearing the little bow tie I had tied around his neck that morning. The air instantly froze. Simon, President Simon, my brother's expression looked like he'd seen a ghost. What are you doing here? Simon walked over slowly and said casually, picking up the kid, He bent down to pick me up as I rushed toward him, his movements so practiced it seemed like he'd done it 1,000 times. Susan suddenly blushed and stepped forward, cooing, "President G. You saved me last time. I haven't had the chance to properly thank you." Simon frowned. "Last time, it was 3 months ago, at the Blue Note Club." She flipped her hair. "I accidentally fell down the stairs, and you," my heart clenched. Just like in the dream, the reason the villain kept tripping up Susan's admirers was because he liked her too. So, does Simon like Susan? Will he abandon me too? "You've mistaken me for someone else." Simon interrupted her, then turned to ask Teacher Lee. "Is there any homework today?" Teacher Lee snapped out of her daze and quickly pulled out my drawing from her bag. "Bella drew a family portrait today. The drawing clearly shows Simon, me, and Snowball, 2 people and a dog, holding hands under a rainbow. In the corner, there's also a stick figure drawn in black with a big X over it. That's my brother." My brother's face turned from white to green to purple, like a human-shaped neon light. He pointed a trembling finger at Simon. "So you're the bastard who kidnapped my sister." Simon adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, the lenses flashing coldly. "President Kevin, need I remind you, you're the one who lost your sister." Snowball barked at just the right moment, his tail slapping against my brother's pants leg and leaving several obvious marks. "That's not true," Susan quickly interjected. "Brother Kevin is doing this for work. He also wants to create a better living environment for Bella." "Enough!" my brother suddenly shouted, startling everyone. With reddened eyes, he looked at me, his voice hoarse beyond recognition. "Bella, do you really not want your brother anymore?" Holding onto Simon's neck, I suddenly remembered that birthday from a few days ago. I waited in the living room all night in my little suit, while my brother was watching a play with Susan. At that time, I also called and asked him like this, "Brother, are you really not going to celebrate Bella's birthday with me?" But he didn't even listen to the end of my words before hanging up the phone. A tear fell uncontrollably, landing on Simon's shoulder. I felt his arm tighten slightly. "Kevin," Simon's voice was uncharacteristically emotional, "you scared the child." This sentence was like a knife, piercing straight through my brother's defenses. He staggered back 2 steps and would have fallen if Susan hadn't caught him. "Let's go home." Simon picked me up and turned to leave, with Snowball trotting along behind us. After we got home, I was distracted, worried that Simon might also like Susan, and afraid that he would eventually send me back. I didn't even notice when Snowball quietly stood up and stole my chocolate. Seeing this, Simon tapped my little head and said, "What are you thinking about, with a brain the size of a peanut? What could possibly be on your mind?" I mustered up my courage. "Brother, do you like Aunt Susan?" "No one dislikes her. My brother likes her. Teacher Wendy likes her, and even my brother's good friends like her too. They say they've never met such a kind and outstanding girl before." I've told my brother that I don't like her. My brother lectured me, saying I was spoiled and lacked a tolerant heart. But my stomach can only hold 5 pieces of chocolate. How could it possibly hold someone as big as Susan? Simon unwrapped another piece of chocolate for me and stuffed it into my mouth. "She's not a diamond. Why would I like her?" "So he doesn't like Susan either." "That's not right. He said in his dream that he really liked it." I tilted my head in confusion. "But you saved her." At that time, she was walking in front of me, waddling like a penguin in 10-centimeter high heels, when she fell. It was like a brick dropping. If I hadn't caught her, she would have used me as a cushion. I'm not stupid. It suddenly dawned on me. "But she's outstanding, don't you like her?" "Simon, who told you she's outstanding?" "My brother." I counted on my fingers, said she was doing her graduate studies while interning, often staying up late working on proposals. Simon helped me toss the chocolate wrapper into the trash and wiped his mouth. "One night 2 months ago, she went to meet Mr. Wang from Star Glory Media. Do you know what she wore?" I shook my head. Snowball also tilted its head in agreement. "A short skirt and a low-cut, off-shoulder top," Simon said with a mocking tone. "And what kind of person is David?" "A notorious old pervert in the industry. He's had his office sofa replaced 4 times already." I widened my eyes in surprise. My brother never mentioned this before. "True excellence," he said, pinching my cheek leisurely, "is about understanding the preferences and bottom lines of your partners in advance, coming to negotiations with complete plans and principles, not by showing off your legs. That's not excellence, that's foolishness." The amount of information is a bit overwhelming. My brother praised Susan to the skies. So how did it turn into a foolish act in Simon's eyes? "So, did she manage to close the deal in the end?" I asked quietly. Simon sneered. She was forced to drink 4 bottles of red wine and ended up signing a contract with a 20-80 split. She got 20, though I didn't understand. I knew that 2 is less than 8. On the 5th day after school, my brother was standing at the school gate again. This time, he was wearing casual clothes, holding a cake box in one hand and a blue teddy bear in the other. The sunlight stretched his shadow long, making him look somewhat lonely. Bella. He immediately crouched down and opened his arms upon seeing me. Guess what I brought for you? I slowly walked over, with Snowball sticking close to my leg. Ever since Simon started picking me up from school personally, my brother has been showing up every day to, coincidentally, run into us, acting like some persistent ex. Strawberry cake. My brother proudly opened the box, revealing a bright red cake that emitted a sweet, cloying fragrance. Your favorite. I stared at the bright red strawberry on the cake and took a step back. I can't eat strawberries. I'll break out in a rash. My brother's smile froze on his face. What? I get rashes if I eat strawberries. I repeated slowly, enunciating each word. My face swells up like a steamed bun. The cake box fell to the floor with a thud. My brother's face turned deathly pale. Impossible. How could you be allergic to strawberries? When you were little. You clearly, Bella. You used to love strawberries the most. Susan suddenly chimed in. She was wearing a strawberry-colored dress today, looking just like a strawberry. Big brother Kevin waited in line for 3 hours just for this. I pouted with grievance. Teacher Wendy knows I get rashes from eating strawberries. Then why didn't she say anything? My brother's voice started trembling. Because she said I was being delicate, I replied. Teacher Wendy loves secretly putting strawberry jam in my snacks. Then takes photos of me turning into a little pig and shares them in the group chat, saying I had an infectious disease. My brother's hand trembled violently. The nanny didn't tell me either. She gave me a pill, saying I'd be fine after a nap. By the time you came home, the swelling had already gone down. Memories flooded in like a tide. That day, I curled up on the bathroom floor, my breath rasping like a bellows. While the nanny's laughter from the soap opera in the living room pierced through the door, by the time my brother finally came home, I only managed to utter the word strawberry before the nanny cut in. Kids are greedy. Who knows what she sneaked and ate that made her allergic? I've already given her medicine. She'll be fine. Bella, I really didn't know. My brother's eyes reddened. He tried to hug me, but Snowball bared his teeth and blocked him. Susan stood awkwardly to the side. Maybe it's a misdiagnosis. My cousin's child was also said to be allergic, but it turned out to be psychological. My brother hesitated. He didn't believe me. Do you need me to take a bite right now to prove it? I said even more aggrievedly, pointing at the cake on the floor. No need. Simon carried my small backpack with one hand as we left the school, then scooped me up with his other arm, looking down at my brother from above. Whether he believes it or not is your brother's business. Not yours. There's no need to hurt yourself over those who don't believe in you. My brother staggered as if struck by lightning. Bob suddenly rushed out of the school, holding up the clay sculpture he made in today's art class. Bella, look at my snowball. It was a crooked dog's head, with 2 shiny buttons for eyes. I took it and deliberately said loudly, amazing, 1,000 times better than some ugly bear someone bought. The teddy bear in my brother's hands suddenly didn't seem so appealing anymore. He probably didn't know that my room was now filled with limited edition robots Simon had given me, all kinds of models. Brother Kevin, let's go first. Susan tugged at my brother's sleeve. Bella doesn't seem to want. Shut up. My brother suddenly exploded in anger, shaking off her hand. You clearly told me that Teacher Wendy said Bella loves strawberries the most. Susan took 2 steps back in fright, her eyes immediately reddening. I might have remembered wrong. Simon carried me and got into the car without looking back. The moment the car door closed, I saw my brother kneeling on the ground picking up the smashed strawberry cake, while Susan stood by, her gaze drifting towards Simon in the car. Snowball enthusiastically licked my face, and I took the chance to wipe my tears on its furry neck. Simon glanced at me through the rearview mirror but didn't ask anything, simply turning on the warm air from the AC. Brother Simon, I called out softly, I want to eat chocolate. The car stopped at a red light, and he turned to hand me an insulated bag. Inside, 6 pieces of chocolate were neatly arranged, along with an ice pack. Simon knew I didn't like the texture when it melted. My hands paused while unwrapping the package. How did you know I'd want to eat this? Simon adjusted his glasses and said naturally, you always crave this whenever you're upset. Snowball barked beside us, as if in agreement. I bit into the chocolate and gazed at the scenery rapidly receding outside the window. In the rearview mirror, my brother's figure grew smaller and smaller, eventually shrinking into a faint black dot before disappearing around the corner. That very evening, Simon packed up all the evidence of the nanny and teacher abusing me and sent it to my brother. I heard he immediately fired Susan from the company and decided to sue the nanny and teacher. My brother's friends all accused him of wronging Susan, saying those were things others had done and Susan had no idea about it. One of his friends, Jack, took Susan in and even punched my brother, calling him a scumbag. In my dream, Jack is the male lead. He also has a fiancée, and she's absolutely stunning. On the weekend, while I was playing ball with Snowball at home, Simon suddenly glanced out the window and said my brother was here. I kicked the carpet uneasily. What's he here for? Probably came to apologize. Simon's tone was icy. I shrank my neck. Apologize? What's that? Simon opened the door. I almost didn't recognize my brother standing at the door. The usually meticulous man now had a crumpled shirt, a bruised lip, and bloodshot eyes. Where was the domineering CEO aura? Where's Bella? My brother's voice was terrifyingly hoarse. Simon blocked the doorway. He doesn't want to see you. To my surprise, my brother didn't get angry. Instead, he whispered, please, let me talk to him. On what grounds? Simon sneered. Because you abandoned him to an abusive nanny, or because you chose some woman over your own sister. His fists turned white from clenching, but suddenly relaxed the next second. You're right. My brother wiped his face with his hand, a gesture that made him look strangely like a lost child. I haven't been a good brother. I hid at the corner of the stairs, stunned for a moment. In my memory, my brother had always been the type to hold his chin high and look down on others through his nostrils. Even during the last boardroom coup, he managed to sip tea while leaving the old-timers speechless. When had I ever seen him like this, so meek and submissive? Snowball suddenly lifted its head and sniffed in my direction, making me quickly shrink back further. At that moment, a warm drop of water landed on the back of my hand. I stared at that teardrop in a daze for a while. When did I start crying? Downstairs. Simon was still going on. Since you know, then transfer the custody rights to me, Mr. Simon. She's my only sister, my brother pleaded. His voice suddenly choked, as if someone had grabbed him by the throat. Through the bars, I saw him blink hard, his lashes wet. It was her birthday that day. I promised to have cake with her. My heart suddenly twisted violently. It's stuffy and a bit painful, Bella. My brother suddenly looked up toward the staircase and called out. He had known all along that I was peeking. I was wrong. I instinctively covered my ears, but the movement threw me off balance, and I landed on the floor with a loud thud. Snowball immediately barked and dashed upstairs, giving away my hiding spot. Oh no, oh no. I frantically rubbed my sore bottom as I scrambled to my feet, just in time to meet the pair of bloodshot eyes glaring up from downstairs. Simon sighed and stepped aside to make a narrow gap. 5 minutes. I shuffled downstairs slowly, with Snowball sticking close to my leg like a bodyguard. I stopped when there were just 3 steps left to go. This height was just right to meet my crouching brother at eye level. The bruise at the corner of his mouth was worse than I'd imagined, already turning a frightening purplish red. I couldn't help reaching out my small hand, but withdrew it just before touching. Does it hurt? It doesn't hurt, Bella. My brother cautiously extended his hand, as if afraid he might break me. Come home with me, okay? I stared at his outstretched palm. When Mom and Dad got divorced, neither of them wanted me. I stumbled after them in tears, clinging to Mom's leg, only to be kicked away, nearly getting hit by a car. It was my brother who pulled me back in time and shielded me under his body. His hand was broken at the time. My brother said, if none of you want Bella, I'll take her. I'll take care of her for the rest of my life. Now that fool who promised to take care of me forever is squatting at someone else's doorstep, begging for my forgiveness with a bruised lip. Idiot. I suddenly threw myself into his arms, smearing all my tears on his crumpled shirt. You're such a huge idiot. My brother's arm froze mid-air, lingering for several seconds before gently wrapping around me. I heard irregular tremors from his chest, like suppressed sobs. I promise. His chin rested on the top of my head, his voice hoarse beyond recognition. Never again. Simon, standing nearby, suddenly cleared his throat. I looked up and saw him pointing expressionlessly at his watch. 5 minutes are up, Mr. G. Could you let me stay with Bella a little longer? Simon asked me if I wanted to forgive my brother. I hesitated for a moment, took a step back, and held Simon's hand. Depends on your performance, the teacher said. To err is human, to forgive divine. But in my dream, my brother almost jumped off a building when he heard Susan was getting married. After being rescued, he gave all his family assets to Susan as a wedding gift. My brother nodded excitedly. Bella, no one can compare to your importance in my heart. Just wait, I will definitely bring you back home. Simon, snowball, woof. Ever since my brother had an epiphany and decided to be a good brother, my school life has become extraordinarily exciting. On Monday morning, just as I reached the school gate, I was stopped by a 2-meter-tall bumblebee. The yellow robot clumsily crouched down and pulled out a box of limited edition Lego from the storage compartment on its chest. Good morning, Bella, came my brother's muffled voice from inside Bumblebee. The next second, he was already being pulled aside by enthusiastic parents for group photos. Bella, Bob ran over excitedly. Is this your family's robot? So cool. Bumblebee immediately turned to Bob and pulled out a handful of imported candies from the small backpack on his back. Bob's cheers attracted half the class, and soon my brother was surrounded by a crowd of kids as he began handing out gifts. Your brother, the teacher looked at the scene, hesitating to speak. Quite creative, huh? I was about to cover my face when I suddenly caught sight of the black Rolls-Royce parked across the street. The car window slowly rolled down, revealing Simon's face with that half-smile of his. He raised an eyebrow at me, then released a remote-controlled drone from the window. The drone landed precisely in front of us, carrying the latest science experiment kit inside its body. The kids instantly abandoned Bumblebee, screaming as they rushed toward the drone. Bumblebee froze in place, and I could practically imagine my brother gritting his teeth inside the robot suit. Childish, I muttered under my breath, yet couldn't help tiptoeing to reach for the drone. I really love doing experiments. On Tuesday, my brother upgraded his gear. He dressed up as Iron Man and performed a hovering flight along the school wall. Bob and the others looked up with their mouths hanging open wide enough to fit an egg. Bella, Iron Man hovered in the air, waving at me. Look what Big Brother brought you. He fired a safety rope, lowering a box of Lego Star Wars. The children erupted in awestruck gasps. Just as my brother was basking in his triumph, a sudden roar echoed from the sky. We looked up to see 5 real drones flying in formation, each carrying a small package beneath it. The drones stopped precisely in front of each child, and inside the packages were customized cartoon bracelets that could make sounds. Mine was especially large, containing a hidden Lego Hogwarts castle set. Iron Man staggered slightly in midair. On Wednesday, my brother finally gave up on cosplay and switched to a warm, affectionate approach. Dressed in casual clothes, he personally delivered animal-shaped cupcakes to the entire class. Each cupcake had a chocolate plaque with a child's name on it. Bella's cupcake is specially made, he whispered to me as he crouched down. Your favorite vanilla flavor. I was just about to be moved when I suddenly caught a whiff of an enticing aroma. A popcorn machine had somehow appeared at the school gate, where Simon was rolling up his sleeves to make cartoon-shaped popcorn for the kids. Bella, Bob ran over holding his popcorn. Look, mine is Superman. My brother stared at the incredibly lifelike Batman-shaped popcorn in Simon's hand, his face looking even more bitter than a bitter gourd. Childish. He snorted coldly, then turned to ask me, which one do you want, Bella? I'll buy you 10. I looked at the popcorn, then at the cake, and suddenly had a bright idea. I want to sprinkle popcorn on the cake and eat it. Both men froze simultaneously. The Thursday war escalated into the realm of puzzle games. Simon sent programming blocks, so my brother sent a world map puzzle. Simon gave a calculator. My brother gave a telescope. Bella, Bob came to me with a frown, holding the puzzle. How do I put this together? I don't know either. But to maintain my image, I pretended to be profound and patted Bob on the shoulder. My brother said, this is for 3-year-olds. You're already 5. Big kids. How can you not know how to do it? Bob walked away, on the verge of tears, clutching the puzzle. The teacher face-bombed nearby. On Friday, the conflict finally reached its climax. My brother somehow got a pony and said the whole class could ride it. Just as the kids were lining up to take turns, Simon showed up driving a mini sports car. Get in, Simon waved at me. Let's go for a spin. My brother scooped me up. Bella wants to ride the pony. I want to drive. Ride the pony, drive. I was being pulled back and forth between the two of them and finally couldn't take it anymore. I want to ride a horse while driving a car. The entire room fell silent for 3 seconds. In the end, the little horse was tied behind the sports car, while I sat inside driving, with the horse leisurely trotting along. The children lined up to take turns experiencing this bizarre combination, as happy as if it were the new year. After school, holding Simon's hand with my left and my brother's with my right, I suddenly thought this wasn't so bad. Will you come again tomorrow? I asked, looking up at them. The two men exchanged glances and said in unison, come on the weekend. My brother took me to the amusement park again to make up for my birthday. Simon cancelled the banquet and insisted on going together. But unexpectedly, I ran into Susan at the amusement park. She was slapped by a beautiful young woman. I instinctively looked at my brother. He just tightened his grip on my hand but didn't let go. Bella, do you want some cotton candy? My brother didn't even look up, gazing at me tenderly. President Simon. Susan's eyes lit up as if she had found a savior. She swiftly dodged past me and my brother. Directly hiding behind Simon, she coquettishly tugged at his sleeve, her voice trembling just right. I don't know why Miss Sue suddenly rushed over to hit me, as if no one cared. Simon frowned and pulled back his sleeve. What does that have to do with me? A crack instantly appeared in Susan's expression. The corner of her mouth twitched as her gaze finally landed on me and my brother, feigning surprise. Brother Kevin. Susan's eyes reddened instantly. Have you been doing well lately? My brother stood beside me, his entire body taut like a tightly drawn bowstring. The bright red slap mark on her left cheek was strikingly conspicuous, yet she stubbornly lifted her chin, resembling nothing so much as an unyielding white lotus flower. Have you made up with Bella? Susan asked softly. It was all just a misunderstanding. As long as Bella forgives you, even if you never contact me again, I don't mind. My brother's Adam's apple bobbed as he was about to speak, but I suddenly tugged at his sleeve. Brother, I want cotton candy, okay? Brother will go get Bella some right away. My brother turned to leave immediately. Susan quickly stepped forward, anxiously saying, Brother Kevin, there's something I want to talk to you about in private. I immediately clung to my brother's leg. No, Big Brother promised to buy me cotton candy. To my surprise, my brother actually reached out and ruffled my hair, saying calmly to Susan, if you have something to say it here. Susan's eyes instantly welled up with tears. I know you're still angry with me, but I really didn't know Wendy would treat Bella like that. She suddenly crouched down, trying to touch my face. Bella, how about Big Sister apologizes to you? I quickly hid behind my brother. Simon suddenly stepped forward, blocking the space between us and Susan. Miss Sue, I suggest you handle your own matters first. Just then, that pretty girl gave us a half smile and tossed a phone our way. Miss Susan, you dropped something. Susan fumbled to catch it, her face suddenly turning pale. The beautiful young woman sneered. The passcode is Jack's birthday, and the photo album is quite interesting. I made a copy for myself to study, to learn how Miss Susan seduces someone else's fiancé. That's not true. Susan hurriedly defended herself. These photos are. You're not going to say it's photoshopped, are you? The beautiful young woman exuded full confidence. Feel free to verify its authenticity. Also, Jack wouldn't be so bored as to entertain you with childish amusement park games. It was me who used his phone to arrange this meeting. I just wanted to see what kind of pathetic loser was trying to trip me up behind my back. Our engagement has been called off. Congratulations. You can take my place now. But you'd better hide those 6 men you've got stashed away. Susan's face showed both joy and embarrassment as she tightly gripped her phone and hurriedly left. After that day at the amusement park, it was as if she had vanished from my brother's world. The last time I saw Susan, she stood in the pouring rain, blocking my brother's car, demanding that he fulfill his promise to her. Brother Kevin, when you worked overtime until you had a stomach hemorrhage, it was me who took you to the hospital. You said you would repay me. My brother didn't get out of the car, just rolled down the window a crack and looked at her coldly. What do you want? Susan gritted her teeth in frustration. The James family looks down on me for being poor. They despise me, even Mrs. James said I'm worthless. If I had enough resources, I could marry Jack with my head held high. Fine, my brother agreed immediately. She curled her lips in disbelief. You really agreed to me. Can you move aside now? After my brother dropped me off at Simon's house, he hurriedly left. I was so angry that I couldn't even eat dinner, and spent an hour scolding my brother to Snowball. Snowball didn't understand, but every time my brother's name was mentioned, it would also let out an angry bark. Simon coaxed me with chocolate. Bella, how about changing to a different brother? Okay. I wrapped my arms around his neck and nodded gloomily. I don't want him anymore. At the crack of dawn, Simon reluctantly let my brother in, looking thoroughly displeased. He handed me a thick stack of documents, shoving them all at me. Bella, your big brother will be relying on you from now on. What do you mean? I was so shocked that I forgot to push him away. I've transferred all my assets under your name. Once you come of age, you can manage them as you please. Your brother only has $1 left to his name now. He seemed to have accomplished something significant and let out a sigh of relief. I was stunned. Did he give me all his family assets? Actually, Susan's actions were unnecessary back then. After I had a stomach hemorrhage, my assistant had already called an ambulance immediately, and it was about to arrive. Yet she insisted on pulling me into a taxi, taking a detour, and sending me to a hospital in the suburbs. Later, I gave her a lot of help at work and even gifted her an apartment. I've done more than enough. There's no way I'm giving away my sister's belongings. My mood instantly improved. Does this count as changing the dream? My brother is still my brother. He didn't commit suicide, nor did he fall into ruin. He's standing right beside me, alive and well, even able to bicker with Simon. Humph. Simon suddenly let out a cold snort, yanking my wandering thoughts back to reality. I turned my head to see my brother rubbing his hands together with an ingratiating smile as he leaned towards Simon. So, now that the misunderstanding's cleared up, how about we all have breakfast together? Simon raised an eyebrow. Has the Lincoln family group gone bankrupt? Not exactly. My brother scratched his nose. It's just, since you're already here, and you prepared so much, it'd be a shame to let it go to waste. Simon looked down at me and muttered, I only picked up one. How did a bigger one follow along? Remember to pay for the meal. My brother immediately wailed. You know I'm the most broke. 2 months later, James's family even invited me and Simon to the wedding. Susan looked at my brother with eager anticipation, waiting for his promised reward. Upon hearing it was only $1, she went berserk and charged over. How could it be just $1? You promised me a reward. I've only got $1 left to my name, right now. Bella is the one calling the shots in our family. My brother picked me up. Miss Sue, how shameless can you be, expecting my entire fortune? President Simon. Susan turned pale and collapsed weakly to the ground. That wedding banquet was said to be quite lively. Wealthy people are no fools. Among the 6 sycophants around Susan, the only one who could truly control family assets was my brother. The others either had their family wealth still in their parents' hands or were merely the youngest. Powerless rich kids living off their families without any real authority. Having an extra brother made my daily life exceptionally colorful. My brother and Simon kept fighting over me. In the end, I decided, we're living together. Snowball absolutely despised my brother, sneaking into his room every day to steal his socks, ties. What wakes me up in the morning isn't an alarm clock. It's my brother's heart-wrenching roar. Simon, control your stupid dog. Lend me a new tie. I'm going to be late for work. Simon, get lost. A year later, I turned 6 years old. At my birthday party, both my brother and Simon came. Looking at the big cake on the table with 6 candles, I suddenly remembered the lonely birthday from a year ago. If it weren't for that dream, I might still be waiting for a brother who would never return. Bella, make a wish, Simon said gently. My brother also nodded with a smile. What gift do you want? I closed my eyes and clasped my hands together. I wish that days like these could last forever. I hope both of my brothers can stay with me forever. I hope we can continue living this happy life together. Opening my eyes, I see the 2 most important people by my side. Sunlight streams through the window, bathing us in its glow while Snowball wags his tail nearby. This is the whole world I've ever wanted. Brothers, I love you, I said with a smile. Both men froze for a moment, then simultaneously reached out to ruffle my hair. We love you too, Bella. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When the brother was targeted by human traffickers, bullet comments appeared in the sky. It's happening. It's happening. The male lead has been reborn. But he's not worried at all because he knows his supporting female character sister will come to save him and be kidnapped in his place. The male lead's only obsession after rebirth is to immediately adopt the female lead from the orphanage after the supporting female character disappears, letting her take the sister's place. This foster family pseudo-sibling romance is so exciting, can't be helped. In the previous life, the female lead wasn't adopted until 3 years later. This meant the billionaire parents hadn't fully transferred all the supporting female characters' assets to the female lead before the sister was found. The female lead suffered so much because of this. Luckily, the male lead was fiercely protective of his wife. To avenge her, he auctioned off the female rival's virginity. On the day the female rival committed suicide, he used her billions in assets as a betrothal gift to propose to the female lead, so sweet it could kill you. But rebirth is still good. In this life, the male lead won't give the female rival any chance to return home. Really, I subtly took 2 steps back, pretending not to see my brother's plea for help. My brother disappeared, and finally, I smiled. Brother, in this life, not only will I not shield you from disaster, but I'll also find someone to replace you. Shen Zhao. I turned around and saw Shen Yao surrounded by 3 burly men. He shouted at me from the alley entrance, "Call the police, hurry. Call the police, TSK TSK TSK." That trembling voice of fear really sounded convincing. What a pity, my dear brother, not only have you been reborn, I have been reborn too. And once again, bullet comments fill the sky, eagerly anticipating the drama. Classic taking the blade trope. Hurry up, supporting female character. Stop being an obstacle to our main couple's daily romance. Okay, got it. Our adorable baby is still struggling with odd jobs everywhere. The female lead should quickly save the male lead, and let our Yao Ji rescue the female lead. Save. But I still remember clearly, the moment I risked danger to chase the human trafficker, he coldly escaped, leaving only his retreating figure. I finally managed to escape from the mountains, thinking I could regain the warmth of family, yet I didn't even get to enjoy a single good day. My own brother sent me to an auction, letting perverted old men bid for my virginity. All because of Wan Meng's one remark. My brother immediately changed the rules, allowing dozens of old men to take turns watching and participating, yet he used my body-selling money to buy a top-tier luxury diamond necklace for his beloved Wan Meng. I'm no saint. Why should I sacrifice myself for their happiness? I watched as Shen Yao's hand trembled while reaching out, unable to hide the calculation in his eyes. I raised an eyebrow just as the burly man's hand was about to land on Shen Yao's shoulder. He stepped back abruptly. 1 step, 2 steps. With a clatter, the phone I was gripping tightly fell hard onto the cold cement ground, landing perfectly into the sewer drain. Shen Yao froze instantly, his mouth gaped open like a strangled chicken, unable to utter a sound. Even the barrage comments were stunned. What's going on? The supporting female lead should have rushed forward. Why is she backing away instead? Did her hands get Parkinson's or something? How did her phone just happen to fall into the sewer? The plot's falling apart. If she doesn't save the male lead, what's going to happen to him? The next second, Shen Yao, his face flushed with anger, shouted at me furiously, "Shen Zhao, have you lost your mind? Can't you see I'm in danger? Hurry up and save me." In his panic, he recklessly urged the human traffickers around him. "Just grab her if you want to catch someone. She's my own sister. Catching her is worth 100 others. Look at her delicate skin and tender flesh. Sell her to those old widowers in the mountains to bear them chubby sons, 2 a year. Don't worry, I'll take the initiative to help you increase the ransom. Our parents are loaded. How about a 30 to 70 split, with you taking the bigger share?" Well, in our past life, he escaped by using me. This time, he didn't even bother pretending. He's trying to trade my life for a moment's respite again. School let out early, and there were hardly any people around anymore. Today, it was pouring rain again, and the few pedestrians who were out hurried away under their umbrellas, completely oblivious to what was happening at the alleyway. These human traffickers probably relied on such perfect timing and conditions, showing no signs of panic as they eyed me greedily. Staring at the expensive watch on Shen Yao's wrist, I quickly pinched my thigh. I pretended to be terrified, shaking my head as I said in a trembling voice, "Brother, what nonsense are you talking about? Mom and Dad have always doted on you. Last week for your birthday, they gave you a 10 million yuan watch without hesitation, and you're wearing it right now." My words instantly made those men glance at Shen Yao's wrist. Truth be told, if Shen Yao hadn't constantly flaunted his wealth outside, this life-threatening disaster wouldn't have befallen him. I seized the opportunity and quickly turned to flee. In my panic, I accidentally tripped over a water bottle on the ground, but the terror from my past life made me too afraid to hesitate. I immediately scrambled back up and kept running. It wasn't until the barrage of comments in midair started cursing at me that I finally stopped and turned back. The human traffickers didn't chase after us. The bullet comments said Shen Yao was taken away. It's all that bitch of a supporting female character's fault. Otherwise, Brother Yao wouldn't have to suffer like this. The male lead must hold on, wait for your parents to rescue you. Is it because Shen Yao is reborn and changed the behavior trajectory of the female supporting character? But isn't he the male lead? How come he doesn't have any protagonist aura at all? You bitch, just wait for your retribution. The male lead will definitely come back. When that happens, our female lead can be brought back too, and the sweet pseudo-sibling romance can continue. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. Protagonist aura, even if there is, I will personally strangle it in its cradle. Oh, brother, in this life, not only will I not shield you from disaster, I will also find someone to replace you. When I got home, my parents were still in a company meeting. Shen Yao was always fond of playing around. Although he wasn't even 10 years old, he rarely came home on weekends. No one would have suspected anything was wrong with his disappearance, but I didn't choose to hide it. Instead, I took the initiative to call my parents. My parents rushed back home soon. My mother broke down and hit me. Are you an idiot? Why didn't you jump in and hold them back? Shen Zhao, you're so heartless. I had long anticipated my mother would react this way. In my past life, when I finally managed to escape, they despised me for being unclean because the old widower had forced me to bear his child, and publicly claimed I was just an orphan girl the Shen family had recently adopted, yet they doted on the replacement, Wan Meng, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. They've always cared about appearances and abhorred anything they consider dirty. But it's okay, this time the dirt won't be on me. I suddenly looked up, fear written all over my face as I asked her in return, Mom, I pounced. And then what? I lifted my pant leg, revealing the surgical scar on my left leg. Do you remember this scar, Mom? When I was 5, I jumped into the river to save my brother. He ran ashore, but I was swept away and broke my bones. I was hospitalized for 3 months, and even now, my bones ache on rainy days. With such heavy rain outside, the pain makes it hard for me to stand. But later, my brother said it was just a test of my loyalty. I don't dare anymore, Mom. I'm afraid this might be another one of his little tests to see if I'll obey. I'm scared this test might hurt me again. That really hurt. Actually, there was no such thing as a loyalty test. It was just Shenyao fearing I might claim his family's assets in the future, so he found a way to kill me. My mother, reminded of the past by my words, instantly showed a look of regret. She held me in her arms, full of self-reproach, and kept apologizing. I'm sorry, Xiao Xiao. Mom didn't know you were in so much pain. I lost my mind for a moment. My father, convinced by my words, slammed the table in anger. That brat must have gotten into trouble again, colluding with outsiders to extort ransom money. We must call the police and have him locked up for a few days. He immediately called the police without hesitation, demanding they bring the missing Shenyao back. I wasn't the least bit flustered. The human trafficking ring had powerful backing. After they kidnapped me, I was moved through countless locations and only sold off after lying low for half a year. Finding Shenyao wouldn't be that easy. The days passed one by one, and my parents went from initial anger to worry and fear. In the end, they became numb. They poured all their remaining affection onto me, hiring several bodyguards to ensure my safety. As nearly a year went by, they mentioned Shenyao less and less. On my 10th birthday, I knew it was time to act. Right after finishing dinner on the weekend, I threw myself into my mom's arms, crying uncontrollably. My mom was startled. Xiao Xiao, what happened? Don't scare your parents like this. Hurry and tell Mom and Dad. Did someone at school bully you? I shook my head and said pitifully, no one bullied me. It's just, I miss my brother. A hint of sadness flashed across my mother's face. My father awkwardly got up and paced around the living room. Xiao Xiao, are you feeling too lonely by yourself? Then, how about Mom and Dad adopt a brother to keep you company? Of course not. What if Shenyao comes back later and they try to pin the blame on me, saying I was the one who insisted on finding a man to replace him? Dad, that's not what I meant. A few days ago, I dreamed that my brother was suffering a lot and living in terrible conditions. It's a shame even the police can't find him. And we still don't know if he was really kidnapped or if he conspired with human traffickers. I was thinking of volunteering on weekends when I'm free, helping those in need. It would be a way to accumulate good karma for my brother. My parents were extremely pleased, praising me with tears in their eyes for being so sensible. Xiao Xiao has grown up and become sensible. Do whatever you want to do. Mom and Dad will fully support you. I nodded, exchanged a few words with them, and then returned to my room to check the information about Lu Yen that the private detective had sent. The barrage of comments popped up again, hurling insults at me. The female supporting character is so despicable. Clearly, she's just trying to ease her own guilt and accumulate virtue for herself. Yet she claims it's for the male lead. Just wait. the day the male lead returns will be the day this little wretch meets her end. The male lead is so pitiful. For the past 6 months, he's been beaten by human traffickers and starved. All because of this wretched girl, poor female lead. With the male lead kidnapped, she'll have to endure hardship for a few years just like in her past life. I smiled without a word, quietly arranging tomorrow's itinerary with the driver. Rest assured, with a villainess like me in the picture, Shen Yao and Wan Meng are doomed to a miserable life this time around. 3. The next day, I went to the juvenile detention center early in the morning. As soon as I arrived at the library, a staff member quietly warned me, "Stay away from that boy by the window. Don't be fooled by his pretty face, he's here for excessive self-defense." His foster father was an organ trafficker who tried to sell his organs, but ended up being accidentally killed by him. He was only 14 at the time, and he was so brutal. That guy's got issues. He could have been released long ago, but he keeps causing trouble on purpose to stay. You'd better keep your distance from him. I smiled and nodded, but after the staff left, I deliberately walked up to Lu Yan with the book in my arms. Lu Yan looked up, his gaze coiling around me like a venomous snake. In just a second, a chill ran down my spine, just like the first time I saw him, in my previous life, just before I was about to be sold into the mountains by human traffickers. I met Lu Yan, who had also been abducted by them. I spent a few days with him, mostly with me initiating conversations while he responded selectively. We met again when I finally managed to escape from the mountains. He had transformed into a local gang leader. He recognized me and even shielded me from the pursuing villagers, safely escorting me back to the Shin family. I pulled myself together and sat down across from him. The barrage of comments seemed to know him better than I did. Holy shit, isn't that the big villain Lu Yan? What the hell is Shin Zhao doing looking for Lu Yan? They shouldn't even know each other at this point. The supporting female character is really bold, daring to come find this mad dog alone. Lu Yan's foster father's creditors are currently offering a bounty for his kidneys. He's deliberately hiding in here. The supporting female character shouldn't bring trouble upon herself and end up harmed. Even better if she gets hurt. This is the retribution for the supporting female character not saving the male lead. Trash deserves a mad dog. Perfect match. Oh, so Lu Yan is the big villain. That does suit me quite well. As for the bounty on kidneys, I'd already learned about it from the private investigator I hired. I came today specifically to discuss a deal with him. I opened the book and handed the note inside to Lu Yan. That's the intel I got. The creditor bribed the warden. You'll be killed during yard time in 3 days. Lu Yan's fingers suddenly clenched tight. He looked up at me again, his eyes terrifyingly dark. I wasn't the least bit afraid and said with a slow smile, "Come with me, I'll help you solve it." Conditions? I looked straight at him and said softly, "Be my shield. Sweep away all the trash in my path, including my useless brother." Lu Yan suddenly laughed. "Empty words. How can I trust you? Prove it to me." He pointed his finger out the window, where a bald man with a scar was swinging his fist at a boy who looked about 14 or 15. I raised an eyebrow and was about to get up to make a phone call. A barrage of comments suddenly flashed by. Isn't that the female lead? Meng Meng, what a coincidence. Just finished her part-time job and ran into the car of the villainess's family on her way home. Meng Meng has suffered too much hardship. She can't help but stare at luxury cars. But you mustn't let the female antagonist notice. Shen Yao can't protect you yet. Don't worry, little Meng Meng. When Brother Yao returns, the cars, the house, the company, everything in the Shin family will be yours. The female antagonist is just holding onto them for you for now. I glanced toward the entrance not far away, where Wan Meng, her hair tied in a ponytail, was cautiously probing my family's driver, though I couldn't make out what she was asking. Her gaze was glued to the luxury car, her fingers unconsciously twisting the worn hem of her clothes, her eyes brimming with undisguised greed. I chuckled softly, waiting for Shen Yao to return. That depends on whether he can crawl his way out. I averted my gaze, walked to the corner, and made a call to my dad. Dad, I came to volunteer today, but there's this bald guy with a scar here at the juvenile detention center. He's beating a skinny kid with an iron rod. The kid's head is bleeding. Dad, I'm so scared. Can we get him locked up here? My legs are shaking. 3 minutes later, a piercing whistle sounded. The bald, scarred man was pinned to the ground by 5 guards, the electric baton crackling with sparks. Lu Yan's pupils slightly dilated, a dark glint flashing through his eyes. I put away my phone and countered his question. Satisfied? That's your answer? Lu Yan scrutinized me for a long moment. what are you planning to do? Cry and beg Dad again? I smiled without answering. Having spent a few days with him in my past life, I had already figured out his temperament, a total tsundere. He had already made up his mind. I came to discuss cooperation with him precisely because I found a way to resolve the troubles he's facing. I'll handle the paperwork. You go change your clothes and wait for me at the entrance. After leaving the juvenile detention center, Lu Yan was already standing by the Maybach in his own clothes. His crumpled t-shirt was stained with traces of blood, and his pants were practically in tatters, but it was precisely his slightly youthful face that gave him an inexplicable sense of fragility. It made people unable to resist the urge to protect him. He truly was beautiful, and beauty, when paired with any other card, becomes an unbeatable hand. As it happened, Lu Yan had won. Lu Yan felt somewhat uneasy under my gaze, his fists clenching tightly. I only have this set of clothes. If you think it's dirty, I can follow your car on foot. Only then did I realize he had misunderstood me, and I quickly explained to him, don't get me wrong, I'm just admiring your beauty. Get in the car, we're going home. I narrowed my eyes and smiled as I leaned close to his ear. Brother. Lu Yan stiffened and clumsily got into the car, and only then did I notice Wan Meng, who had been blocking my view. Her fingers twisted tightly at the hem of her clothes. Her jealous gaze fixed on me like a vice. I raised an eyebrow and went home amidst the barrage of curses in the bullet comments. My parents were both at home for once. Zhao Zhao, how did you end up at the juvenile detention center as a volunteer? Before my mom could finish speaking, she spotted Lu Yan behind me. She covered her mouth in fright, her voice trembling. Zhao Zhao, who is this? My father's face turned livid as he barked angrily. Nonsense. How dare you bring someone from the juvenile detention center home? Send them away immediately. I walked towards them but deliberately bumped into the coffee table. Falling to my knees, Lu Yan instinctively rushed over to help me up, and all of this was witnessed by my parents. With reddened eyes and a choked voice, I said, Mom, Dad, he was the one who protected me in the juvenile detention center just now. He almost got hit in the head by that bald man's iron rod. The rod was this thick. I'm afraid he might face retaliation from the people inside. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I should have asked for your opinion first. It's the first time I felt protected by someone like an older brother. I secretly gave Lu Yan a meaningful glance. He lowered his head, his long eyelashes casting shadows on his pale cheeks. His lips were pressed tightly together, and his body trembled almost imperceptibly, with delicate, feminine features that evoked pity in anyone who saw him. Beauty can sometimes truly be a powerful weapon. I turned around, looking at my mother, whose face showed reluctance, and pleaded, Mom, let's just invite him for a meal, give him a hot bath and some clean clothes. Okay, if my brother were out there, I'd hope he'd meet kind people who'd offer him a warm meal. My mother clearly softened, tears immediately falling from her eyes. My father's tightly furrowed brows relaxed slightly as he silently scrutinized Lu Yan. Finally, my father wearily waved his hand and summoned the housekeeper, Zhang Ma. Take him to the guest room to wash up and get him a set of clean clothes. This outcome was within my expectations. They care about their reputation, afraid that adopting a son voluntarily would invite gossip from outsiders. But if they try to shift this burden onto me, I'm not willing either. In that case, I had no choice but to reluctantly plan everything carefully and make them accept it step by step. At my signal, Lu Yan obediently followed Aunt Zhang and left the living room. I had just breathed a sigh of relief when my phone in my pocket started vibrating wildly. I pulled it out and saw a link to a post sent by a friend, and the protagonist in the post was none other than me and Lu Yan. Publicity stunt or condoning evil, heiress attacked by murderer in juvenile detention center. Yet defends him. I flipped through the accompanying photos. All were sneaky shots of me and Lu Yan standing at the entrance of the detention center. The written account was completely fabricated, utterly absurd. Finally, it escalated from targeting me directly to attacking the entire Shen family, accusing the Shen family of hypocrisy, shielding serious criminals, and having financial dealings with murderers. The post's popularity skyrocketed, quickly reaching the top spot on the local trending list. I already had a suspicion in mind, and the arrogant barrage of comments promptly confirmed my guess. Meng Meng is amazing, dealing such a heavy blow to the female antagonist at their first meeting. This is like avenging Brother Yao in a way. I instinctively wondered if Wan Meng had also been reborn, but I quickly dismissed the thought. If she had truly been reborn, how could she endure such a life of poverty now? Besides, That greedy yet self-deprecating look in her eyes today was definitely not an act. In a way, she and Shen Yao are truly a perfect match. Lu Yan finished washing up and came out wearing a fresh set of clothes. Noticing my troubled expression, he asked softly, "Something wrong?" It suddenly occurred to me that Lu Yan is a computer genius. I silently handed the phone to him. He glanced at the screen, and his eyes instantly turned as cold as ice. "Do you have a computer?" I immediately led him back to the bedroom. He stopped speaking, his fingers flying across the keyboard so fast they became a blur. 10 minutes later, the post vanished instantly, along with the throwaway account that posted it, permanently banned. He dug up everything, the IP address, all the registration details of the throwaway account. Lu Yan looked up and asked me, "Got a grudge?" "Sort of, yeah." He lowered his head again, typing away noisily before showing me the screen. A topic with Wan Meng's name was climbing the trending charts at an eerie speed. It's all about Wan Meng's dark past, falsely claiming financial aid for impoverished students, frequenting underground casinos, chaotic personal life, taking out loans to buy luxury goods to build a persona. So this so-called female lead actually indulges in smoking and drinking behind the scenes. In less than half an hour, public opinion completely reversed. Lu Yan expressionlessly closed his laptop and thanked me. "I heard that my foster father's creditor just died in the west of the city." "Thanks," I waved my hand, but the next second, he suddenly lifted me up. He placed me by the bedside, gently touching my swollen knees, his voice lowering. "Just tell me directly what you need me to do in the future. Don't hurt yourself." He paused, then added, "There's one more thing." He swiped open his phone screen, pulled up a photo, and handed it to me. "Shen Yao has been found." I carefully examined the blurry photo. It appeared to be some underground black market clinic. Shen Yao lay on a crude hospital bed with his left leg in a cast and his right hand wrapped in bandages. His face was covered in bruises, clearly having just suffered a beating. Lu Yan said that Shen Yao tried to escape during the human trafficker's transaction and was caught. I found the address. Should we save him? I was somewhat surprised. But more than that, I was thrilled. Even the barrage couldn't spot where the male lead Shen Yao was. But Lu Yan found him effortlessly. "This isn't some mad dog. Clearly, he's my lucky star." Laughing, I tossed the phone back to Lu Yan. "Then you'd better hurry, new brother, perform well and win my parents' affection." It must be said that Wan Meng's bizarre actions indirectly helped both me and Lu Yan. The next day, after my parents heard about the incident, they viewed Lu Yan in a new light and found an excuse to keep him at the Shen household. Lu Yan, being highly intelligent, had developed an acute sensitivity to others' emotions due to his complicated upbringing. In less than a week, Lu Yan moved from the guest room to the bedroom next to mine, the room that once belonged to Shen Yao. Shen Yao's personal belongings were either thrown into the storage room or packed up and donated to charity. Even his photos were buried under the thick dust of the basement. A month later, my parents officially adopted him and transferred his student records to an elite school. They originally wanted Lu Yan to change his surname to Shen. I refused. I thought the name Lu Yan sounded quite nice. 4 years later, Lu Yan was admitted to Tsinghua University with a score of 703. I also entered the best high school with a score of 699. Our parents rewarded each of us with an apartment near the school, right across from each other. Every morning, Lu Yan would appear at my house punctually, preparing breakfast for me, waking me up, and taking me to school. He never missed a day, rain or shine, until I also got into Tsinghua or Peking University. He was completely different from the Lu Yan of my past life. As for Wan Meng, I heard from Lu Yan that after the online bullying incident, she dropped out of school and went back to her hometown. It seems there's no way to have any connection with the male lead, Shen Yao, anymore. Even the barrage comments rarely appear now, but life has become somewhat dull. "Shen Yao, it's time to come back." The next day, the piercing sound of police sirens shattered the tranquility of the Shen household. Lu Yan and I stood on the balcony, watching the figure being helped out of the car by the police. Lu Yan let out a disdainful snort before covering my eyes. "Don't look at ugly things." But I saw everything clearly. That man whose face was covered with dense scars, with saliva uncontrollably dripping from the corner of his mouth, was Shen Yao, my own brother. He had returned. I immediately called my parents at the company. Half an hour later, they rushed back in a hurry. "Shen Yao, where is Shen Yao?" My mother looked around excitedly, but the moment she saw Shen Yao's appearance, she took 2 steps back. My father's face turned ashen. His eyes filled with disbelief and unconcealed disgust. He asked us uncertainly. Is this, Shen Yao? Lu Yan nodded. The police have already verified it. It's absolutely true, no wonder they were so shocked. After all, the current Shen Yao not only had scars covering his face, his exposed right hand was atrophied and deformed, curled up like a withered chicken claw. What's more, there was nothing below his left knee. He could barely stand with the help of a wooden crutch, the stench of sweat, medicine, and the foul odor of incontinence emanating from Shen Yao hit us like a wave, making my mother cover her mouth and retch violently, tears streaming down her face, yet he himself just grinned foolishly at us. Even the barrage of comments couldn't process it for a moment. Is this really Shen Yao? My God, why is he in such a terrible state? When the female supporting character returned home, she wasn't missing any limbs. How dare those human traffickers abuse our male lead like this? It's all Shen Zhao's fault. She's the reason Brother Yao is suffering so much. It's okay, everything happens for the best. The male lead is back, and this mad dog and the vicious female supporting character won't get away with it. Thank goodness the male lead isn't actually crazy. He was just pretending to buy time, first to find the female lead, then to deal with them. Oh, so he was faking it after all. I knew it. Those eyes filled with malice and madness didn't belong to a fool at all. I perfectly timed the tears welling up in my eyes and pulled my mother closer. Mom, let's call a doctor first to take a look. Brother, sorry for the trouble. Since Shen Yao is so eager to act, I'll have to play along with him properly. Before long, the private doctor arranged by Lu Yan arrived. The brain damage is irreversible, with lifelong cognitive abilities equivalent to a 5-year-old. And he seems to have violent tendencies. As he spoke, I noticed the doctor discreetly giving Shen Yao an injection. The next second, Shen Yao suddenly lunged forward and bit my mother's arm. My mother screamed in terror, accidentally kicking Shen Yao's right leg as she struggled to break free. His earlier actions had already provoked my father. He immediately declared Shen Yao's fate to Lu Yan. Get this lunatic out of here. We can't keep him at home anymore. Send him to the mental hospital. My mother covered her nose and chimed in, Yan. Remember to cut the expenses by 30%, since he can't be cured anyway. There's no point wasting too much money. Shen Yao's body visibly stiffened, and the arrogance in his eyes faded instantly. Clearly, he couldn't accept the fact that our parents looked down on him. But brother, this is just the beginning. Late at night, the nurse assigned by Lu Yan to take care of Shen Yao sent a message. Miss Shen, your brother suddenly grabbed me just now and clearly said he wanted to contact Wan Meng. It seems he really can't forget Wan Meng. I just wonder if he can still attract Wan Meng now. I was about to make the call when Lu Yan pressed down on my hand. Let's not rush for now. I was puzzled when I saw Lu Yan's fingers swiftly typing on the keyboard, pulling up a video. It turned out Shen Yao had contacted others, attempting to use underhanded means to send me to a cruise ship auction. Quite flattering, really. Starting bid at 100 million, I raised an eyebrow indifferently. Lu Yan sneered. I remember the public rule. If the auction item can't be delivered, the auctioneer must participate themselves. Didn't he want to play at auctions? Then let's help him experience an immersive auction firsthand. For several consecutive days, Lu Yan intercepted 7 or 8 groups of people who tried to take me away and gave them Shen Yao's address instead. Soon, I heard that Shen Yao had been taken away. A few more days passed, and Lu Yan invited me to an auction on a cruise ship. That day, apart from Shen Yao, there were quite a few other auction items as well. Shen Yao was the grand finale. After waiting nearly 2 hours for his turn, the audience quickly started bidding upon seeing the item description. One after another, paddles were raised to drive up the price, creating an exceptionally lively scene. In fact, it was even more intense than the auction for my virginity in my previous life. In the end, a wealthy businessman from Southeast Asia won Shen Yao's virginity at an astonishingly high price. According to Lu Yan, this businessman was notorious for collecting deformities and disabilities. Shen Yao's atrophied right hand and empty pant leg perfectly aligned with his fetish. 3 days later, Shen Yao, injected with a powerful sedative, was secretly transported like livestock to a slaughterhouse, to a high-end luxury hotel suite in the suburbs known for its extreme privacy. A few hours later, Shen Yao was dumped in the hotel's back alley garbage pile. His clothes were torn to shreds, his exposed skin covered in fresh whip marks, bruises, and burned scars. His face was severely swollen, with blood-flecked foam dripping from the corner of his mouth. It seems Shen Yao has been quite the playboy these past 3 years. Feeling nauseated, I quickly turned to call Lu Yan to leave immediately. Lu Yan patted my head and summoned someone to take the barely conscious Xinyao back to the mental hospital. The barrage of comments in the air had already gone wild, cursing both me and Lu Yan, but they won't have to wait long before thanking us. After all, to fulfill Shinyao's wish, Lu Yan and I went through a lot of trouble to trick Wan Meng into coming back. That night, just as Lu Yan finished preparing a seafood feast, the caregiver informed us that Shinyao had woken up, seeing Wan Meng, who works as a nurse in the mental hospital. She excitedly hugged her and burst into tears. Meanwhile, the barrage on my side also erupted with excitement. Woo woo, our male and female leads have finally reunited. So touching, that scumbag Shen and crazy dog Lu finally did something decent. Meng Meng's confused expression is so adorable, ha ha ha. Don't be nervous, Meng Meng. This is your future husband. The entire Shen family will be yours soon, and you'll live a life of luxury in no time. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly, whispering to Lu Yan while also announcing an inevitable outcome to the barrage of comments. The game has officially begun. Just a few days later, news came from the mental hospital that Wan Meng wanted to resign. I inquired and found out that Wan Meng felt harassed by Shinyao. The barrage comments clearly favor the male lead more, as they've already started blaming the female lead. Actually, it's not Wan Meng's fault. In his previous life, Shen Yao was at least a wealthy young master with good looks and a healthy body, but now, times have changed. How could Shen Yao possibly deceive the selfish and snobbish Wan Meng with just a few words? So I immediately suggested to my parents that we give Shen Yao some pocket money. Mom, Dad, I heard from my brother that Shen Yao has been causing a scene in the mental hospital, wanting to go out and play games. He's had a hard time these years. Maybe we should fulfill these small wishes of his. Upon hearing this, my mom's eyes welled up with tears again. After sighing for a long time, he made a call to arrange for Shinyao to receive a monthly allowance of 50,000 yuan. My father frowned but ultimately acquiesced to my mother's decision. 50,000 yuan wasn't much for our family, but for Wan Meng, who had grown up in poverty, it was a fortune. A week later, I heard that Wan Meng voluntarily withdrew her resignation application. Lu Yan told me that after Shinyao found out about the money, he bought a bag online the same day. It seems it won't be long before our male and female leads fall in love just like in their previous lives, but accidents always come faster than plans. A month later, before the male and female leads could counterattack us, my grandfather passed away first. My father was so heartbroken that he fell seriously ill. My mother had to handle company affairs while also finding time to care for my father. She directly entrusted the funeral arrangements to Lu Yan. You've always been steady and sensible, Yan. I appreciate your hard work this time. Lu Yan flashed a perfectly practiced smile and nodded obediently. After sending my mother away, Lu Yan shared a piece of news with me. Shen Yao is inquiring about the funeral arrangements. He's probably planning to make his move on the day of the ceremony. Should we stop him? How could that be stopped? My father is my grandfather's most beloved youngest son, and he cares deeply about face. If Shen Yao dares to make trouble at the funeral, my father would be the first to tear him apart. Lu Yan quickly arranged all the funeral matters and also leaked the time and location to Shen Yao. At the funeral, I stood by the coffin, my gaze seemingly unintentionally sweeping over the corner. Shen Yao was half supported, half dragged by the caregiver, his clouded eyes alternating between vacant stares and flashes of ferocity. In contrast, Wan Meng kept her head bowed, sobbing as if it were her own grandfather who had died. The barrage of comments was more excited than the main characters, already halfway to popping champagne in anticipation of seeing me proven wrong. But there's one thing they don't know. My parents never intended to let Shen Yao attend the funeral in the first place. They were ashamed of Shen Yao and never told anyone about his return. The funeral began shortly after. Just as the officiant started reading the eulogy, Shen Yao couldn't hold back any longer and stumbled to his grandfather's coffin, drawing everyone's attention. Grandfather. Shen Yao gripped the edge of the coffin tightly, glaring at me with venomous hatred. Grandfather, open your eyes and see. See how cruelly your grandson has been wronged. It's all Shen Zhao's fault. That bitch ruined me. She sold me to human traffickers and had them break my legs. I'm the eldest grandson of the Shen family, for heaven's sake. The other guests were utterly shocked, continuously sizing up Shen Yao and whispering among themselves. Many eyes turned toward me, but Lu Yan quickly stepped in front of me, shielding me from their gazes. I could only look at my parents. They clearly didn't expect Shen Yao to appear here. Beyond panic, their faces showed even more disgust. Especially when they noticed the pus oozing from Shen Yao's face smearing on the coffin. My father completely lost his patience. Get out of here. Where did this lunatic come from? Drag him away immediately. Don't let him disturb the old master's peace. The bodyguard stepped forward at once. However, Wan Meng rushed out at that moment, blocking the bodyguards with tears in her eyes. President Shen, Mrs. Shen, why are you driving away your own son? Master Shen had gone completely mad. Yet today he suddenly returned to normal. This must be Grandpa Shen's spirit in heaven, unable to bear seeing his suffering. Can't you just listen to what he has to say? Of course I want to, but what I say depends entirely on me. With an expressionless face, I took the remote control handed to me by Lu Yan and pressed it lightly. The massive electronic screen at the front of the memorial hall suddenly lit up, displaying clear covert footage and recordings that instantly drowned out all the clamor. Scene 1, Shen Yao lies on the hospital bed, whispering instructions into his phone. At the funeral, I'll pretend to be crazy and pitiful to draw everyone's attention. Meng, you take the chance to drug my parents' water, then we'll frame Shen Zhao and her damn dog for it. My mother gasps in shock, so startled she falls to the ground. Scene 2 shows today's events. Shen Yao glaring fiercely toward the funeral direction. Wan Meng nervously twisted her fingers. Really, can this really work? What if? Shen Yao sneered and interrupted. Afraid of what? Once they fall, the Shen family will be ours. I promised you 20% of the Shen family's shares, and I always keep my word. The entire hall was in an uproar. My mother's face turned as pale as paper, her body trembling uncontrollably before she collapsed straight to the ground. My father even rushed forward and kicked Shen Yao to the ground. You beast! Not only did you fake insanity, but you also tried to kill us. Wan Meng still attempted to defend Shen Yao, pointing at the screen and shouting that the video was all fabricated, but I had already anticipated their reaction and had Luan throw a transparent bag right in front of them. The video source file, voice print comparison, filming equipment information, including the forensic center's certification, it's all in there. I can give you time to come up with another excuse. My voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to shatter the psychological defenses of these two, especially for Wan Meng, who had never seen much of the world. She trembled with fear and, after just a few seconds of hesitation, immediately turned against them. It's not my fault, it was him, it was all Shen Yao's idea. I'm just an ordinary nurse at the mental hospital. He faked insanity, took a liking to me, and threatened me with the Shen family's influence. He said as long as I helped him take control of the Shen family, he'd give me money, lots and lots of money. He forced me to administer the drugs. Shen Yao was utterly shocked, struggling to get up from the ground. He grabbed his cane and swung it directly at Wan Meng. You fucking betrayed me. The barrage clearly favors the male lead more, constantly scolding Wan Meng. What's wrong with the female lead? Don't you know how much the male lead has suffered for you, just because you got scared? You betrayed him. So selfish. Shen is truly vicious, killing a person and destroying their spirit. Brother Yao isn't worth it. Everything he did was for Wan Meng, and now he's been betrayed. Brother Yao, you must hold on. Quickly use your trump card. I was wondering what other trump card he had when Shen Yao suddenly calmed down, raising his head to stare at me intently. Dad, you call me a beast, but do you know how Shen Zhao, standing beside you, has been bullying me? He violently tore open his shirt. What met the eye were crisscrossing whip marks. The wounds were deep enough to expose flesh, with skin and muscle turned outward, some areas even crusted with dark red scabs. Look, this is your precious daughter Shen Zhao, and the fine work of the dog she raised. Shen Yao's voice was hoarse as if weeping blood. They treated me like livestock, like a plaything, sent me to be defiled. This is the proof. My mother, who had just regained consciousness, burst into tears at this shocking sight. She turned back to ask me in disbelief, Zhao, these injuries, what happened? I couldn't help but frown. It had been over a month since Shen Yao was auctioned off, yet those wounds were clearly fresh. I was about to speak when Lu Yan reached out to pull me closer. Unhurriedly took out his phone, and projected the video onto the large screen. Shen Yao's voice rang out clearly. That's right, beat him to death, especially those burns. Make sure they're in obvious spots, so the old man and my mom will feel heartbroken when they see them. The more heartbroken they are, the more they'll hate that bitch Shen Zhao. When that happens, the Shen family will be mine. As the audio ended, Lu Yan calmly pulled up another surveillance clip. It was the day Shen Yao was targeted by human traffickers. He broke down and cursed at me, even clearly encouraging the traffickers to take me away. Shen Yao was completely dumbfounded. No, impossible. How? I was so careful. It's indeed quite well hidden. The people I sent to monitor Shen Yao didn't even notice he had planned this move. But luckily, my Lu Yan is a computer expert. My mother snapped out of it and lunged at Shen Yao like a madwoman, her nails clawing viciously at his face. Monster. You monster, how could I have given birth to such a beast? My father looked at him with even greater disgust, no longer meeting his eyes, and coldly declared the verdict. From this day forward, Shen Yao is no longer a member of our Shen family. Our son died 3 years ago. Drive out this creature who isn't even worthy of being called a dog. In the morning hall, only Shen Yao's desperate screams as he was dragged away and Wan Meng's tearful sobs remained, and the silent scream in midair. You damn bitch, don't think you can rest easy just because you won this time. The male lead will definitely turn the tables in desperate straits. Just wait to be trampled under Shen Yao's feet. Is that so? Well, I'm quite looking forward to it. Lu Yan had originally intended to hand Shen Yao directly over to that Southeast Asian tycoon, but I deliberately let Shen Yao escape. At the same time, I leaked a piece of information to Shen Yao. Our parents, disheartened and no longer interested in business, had already drafted a share transfer agreement, entrusting me with taking over the Shen family's enterprises. Sure enough, just 3 days later, Wan Meng called on behalf of Shen Yao. Shen Zhao, your parents are in my hands. Bring the share transfer agreement in exchange for your parents. Ignoring the taunts and the barrage, I gladly went to the meeting. A good show naturally requires cooperation. When Lu Yan and I arrived at the abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, Shen Yao was using his intact left hand to tightly choke my mother's neck. Meanwhile, his wheelchair was pressed against my father's lower body. His face was twisted in a maniacal grin, with drool mixed with blood trickling down his chin. It nearly made me vomit from disgust. Bring the share transfer agreement now, or I'll kill them. Lu Yan expressionlessly placed the box on the ground and opened it. Inside was a thick stack of equity transfer agreements and a company seal with ink pad. Shen Yao's eyes instantly gleamed with greed. Throw it over. Lu Yan deliberately tossed the items to a spot not far from Wan Meng. Sure enough, Wan Meng, who had been trembling in the corner, suddenly lunged out from the shadows and snatched the safe from the ground. Give it to me. Shen Yao forced me to come here. Since he's already crippled, let him take the blame. Just give me the stuff. The sudden turn of events left Shen Yao momentarily stunned, followed by overwhelming fury. He released his parents and propelled his wheelchair with full force toward Wan Meng. Amid their struggle, Wan Meng lost control of her body and tumbled over the edge of the rooftop. Driven by the instinct to survive, Wan Meng flailed her hands wildly in the air. By sheer coincidence, she managed to grab hold of Shen Yao's empty left pant leg. In those brief seconds, Shen Yao hadn't even had time to react. He disappeared from sight along with Wan Meng. After the heavy impact sound came from below, there was a deathly silence. Wan Meng died on the spot. Shen Yao was truly tenacious, falling from 7 stories high and still managing to cling to life until reaching the hospital. But now, with tubes inserted all over his body, his faint heartbeat is barely sustained by a ventilator and 4 fluids. Better off dead. I turned around and only then noticed Lu Yan had arrived. No idea how long he'd been standing there. I stepped forward and brushed off the water droplets from his shoulder. Everything's been taken care of. He nodded, his gaze settling on me. Mom and Dad are heartbroken. The share transfer agreement has been drafted, and they're already on a private jet heading abroad. The media has been taken care of. It's all being reported as accidents. I nodded and asked in return. How much did they offer you? 34%. That's not bad. You're free now. Where do you plan to go next? Lu Yan's tall figure enveloped me in a safe shadow, his deep voice whispering by my ear, I am your shield, so naturally I'll always protect you. I curled my lips slightly, leading him out of the hospital room, shutting the deathly silence firmly behind the door. By the way, let's pull out his tube in a while. It's a waste of money. Alright, after hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.